these organizations received during their application for tax-exempt status. I would like to just highlight a few of those purported abuses and ask for your opinion on them. A letter from the IRS Office of Exempt Organization Specialist in El Monte, California, specifically the Pacific Coast Division. I would note this is not in the Cincinnati Division. To the Christian Voices for Life of Fort Bend County in Sugar Land, Texas, dated March 31st, 2011, that I have here with me today. They were asked specifically, again, this is a pro-life group, in your educational program, do you do education on both sides of the issues in your programs? Mr. Miller, your knowledge of the 501c3 application, is that an appropriate question to ask?
So I'm going to be honest, and I'm not going to be able to speak to a specific development letter in a specific case. I don't know that I can do that under 6103.
Okay, let me ask you about another letter that was received by a pro-life group, this one in Iowa. Their question specifically asked from the IRS to the Coalition for Life of Iowa, quote, please detail the content of the members of your organization's prayers. Would that be an appropriate question to a 501c3 applicant? The content of one's prayers.
It pains me to say I can't speak to that one either, but that's an...
You don't know whether or not that would be an appropriate question to ask an applicant?
Speaking outside of this case, which I don't know anything about, it would surprise me that that question was asked.
And finally, during another applicant's conversation or back and forth, they were asked specifically, quote, please detail certain signs that may or may not be held up outside of a Planned Parenthood facility, end quote. Would that be an appropriate follow-up to an applicant for 501c3 application?
Again, I don't know what the context would be, but again, that doesn't sound like the usual question.
Thank you. Well, hopefully Mr. George and the Inspector General's office can enlighten us. Mr. George, during your investigations, are you aware of the 3 letters submitted by Senators Baca, Schumer, and Durbin written to the IRS, specifically Mr. Schulman, asking them to give extra scrutiny to 501c4 applications?
I am aware of it, but I don't know the details, sir.
So in your investigation so far, in questioning employees of the IRS, did you ask them specifically whether or not these letters from sitting United States senators influenced or impacted their decisions around these cases?
I do not believe that was part of the inquiry, sir.
Will you ask those questions in the future?
I will ask that if appropriate. We will certainly do so if appropriate.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm particularly troubled by some on this committee who seem to